If you're a non-US swap dealer, do you have to submit the same Chief Compliance Officer reports as US swap dealers? I'm about to tell you the answer to that. Recently, I interviewed for a position at a bank in London, and the reason they wanted to hire me is that their chief legal officer was spending way too much time and way too much money with New York lawyers, according to her, preparing these chief compliance officer reports to submit to the CFTC every year, and that's what they wanted to hire me for. What I did not tell her is that I could save her twice what they were offering me in 5 minutes by telling her what I'm about to tell you now, because if I told her this, they wouldn't need to hire me. So you could do exactly what they were doing and hire a big firm in New York to prepare a chief compliance officer report in accordance with CFTC regulation 3.3, or for free, you can just submit an unredacted home regulator report if you're in one of these countries. The CFTC has on their website a list of jurisdictions that qualify for substituted compliance because their regulations are considered comparable to the US's regulations. And those countries are Japan, Mexico, the European Union, and the UK. So if you were in one of these jurisdictions, like that bank that interviewed me, you don't have to pay a big firm in New York 6 figures every year to prepare one of these reports. You can just submit your unredacted home regulator report and then you'd be fine. Now, I'm going to give you a few caveats on this. First of all, I'm a lawyer, but I'm not your lawyer. So this information is for education and informational purposes only. It's not to be relied on. I'm a lawyer. I'm not your lawyer. Get your own lawyer. Nothing I say here creates an attorney-client relationship, and this information is not to be relied on. So check with your own legal counsel on anything I say. Now, since I've given you that disclaimer and I'm opining on these rules, you might say, why the hell should I listen to you? In other words, what do you know about this? In other words,
go outside, nerd. Get out. Go. I ain't got time to be distracted by your worthless chime-ins. Go on.
Well, I'm a financial lawyer with over 25 years experience, and I'm doing these YouTube videos to get this information out there. So back to the topic. I'm a finance lawyer with over 25 years experience, including 22 at the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, and I used to review these Chief Compliance Officer reports, and I'm just putting this information out there because since leaving government service, I can say anything I want, and there's no prohibition on getting advance clearance from my agency to do this. So here you go. So I did mention these jurisdictions have substituted compliance and they can submit their unredacted home regulator report. However, where they run into is, I don't know who tells people this, maybe it's these firms in New York, but they keep trying to submit these what we call hybrid reports, but which are not okay. So it must be the unredacted home regulator report, and if it's from a jurisdiction that does not speak English, like Japan, Mexico, or many of the EU countries, it would have to be translated into English. And where they run into problems is where they submit the portions that have to do with the CFTC regulations, they leave out the rest, or they sort of use that and try to make some Frankenstein monster where they use parts of their home regulator report and make it look like it should be a 3.3 report and add other things and hope for cover, because if it doesn't comply completely with 3.3, they can say, well, we have this comparability determination, and that's not okay. You can submit a 3.3 report, or you can submit the unredacted home regulator report. You can't do anything in the middle. In many jurisdictions, the banking arm, securities, futures, they're all one regulator. And some people think that we can just submit the parts that deal with swaps or futures and omit the rest. But that's not okay, because if you submit a redacted report, how does the CFTC know that you only redact the parts that don't apply to them? How do they know that you didn't submit parts where they talk about enforcement actions and you just sort of snip that out? So it would have to be the entire unredacted home regulator report translated to English if necessary, and they would not look at the stuff that doesn't concern the CFTC, but they need to see the unredacted home regulator report. So here's a letter from the former director, Amanda O'Lear, who I used to work with. If you're watching this, Amanda, hello. And it was also signed by a couple of my coworkers, Pamela, Fern, and Samantha. How you doing, guys? And this says exactly what I just told you, that you can submit a home regulator report if you have that comparability determination on the CFTC's website that I just mentioned, but it has to be the whole report. So you have to submit the compliance report that you provided to your home regulator. So here's the two things that they flag. Redacted home regulator reports, which I said is not okay, and reports that they tried to format in a method, and reports that they try to format in a method that mimics 3.3e, but that doesn't contain everything that it's supposed to contain. And the one they usually leave out is areas for improvement and material non-compliance issues, which is one of the things that the operating divisions and enforcement like to look at. So if you leave it out, that's a big no-no. And if your unredacted home regulator report does not contain those things, that's fine, but you can't create a report that purports to comply with the CFTC's regulation and not include that by hobbling together bits and pieces of your home regulator report and other things which you think should go in there. When it comes to this issue, it's not a spectrum, it's a yes or no. You have a fully compliant Regulation 3.3 report that has everything that the CFTC regs say must have for US banks, or you can submit an unredacted home regulator report translated into English if necessary, and there is nothing in between. So those are your two options. So like and subscribe, and if you have any questions on this issue, just put it below. My name's Pete. I'm a financial lawyer with 25 years experience, and if you'd like to talk with me or work with me as a consultant or as an attorney, just leave a comment below and I'll find a way to get in touch with you. Have a great day, everyone.